Hello everybody and welcome to a brand new build video with me, Sherman. Today we are taking a look at the Northern Wind. This is a Warden ice tank. It is made for small group and solo play mainly. I have not tried it in trials. I don't know how effective it would be, but I think it would be fine in normal trials, probably as an off tank instead of a main tank. This build is strictly for, though, solo and small group play. And it's a really fun build. Like I said, it's an ice warden, or an ice tank warden. It focuses heavily on ice damage for crowd control, CC, that kind of thing. It's really effective, though. So let's go ahead and take a look at the stats. So on the gear, or on the character sheet here, you can see I have 54 in a magic, a 10 into health. The only reason why I put in a 10 into health is to give me an extra 1,000 health. And it puts me at 33,000 health right now with a 27k magic, a 14k stamina. I do have a 1,452 spell damage with a 22% spell critical. I have the cap on resistances unbuffed. So I have 3,000 spell and 3,000 physical. I do not need to cast a buff if I don't want to, but I do use it to reach the full cap of the 33,600 or something. It puts me at like 4,000, 5,000. We'll go ahead and see. If you notice my magic goes down, I'll explain that in a second. So we're going to go ahead and just back out here. We're going to pop our buff and then switch back and see 35,280 is what our spell resistance and physical resistance is at. This puts us just a little over 2k over cap, and that's fine. It's just easier to get there, and you don't have any problems getting to the cap. It's really, really simple. On top of that, you have a lot of damage mitigation, so you don't need a damage shield to absorb damage. You mitigate so much damage with this build, it's not even funny. You can also see we have a low recovery. You can give up an extra one of the weapon glyphs or spell damage glyphs you have on your jewelry to get a little bit more magic recover if you want. Now I am wearing full reinforced gear, and I'll explain why I went reinforced and none of it's sturdy. For the resistances, you're gonna take a lot of hits with this build because you do a lot of heavy attacking with the staff for taunting and also for the damage shield that it applies to you. So we'll get into that here in a second. So down here you can see I am running the Lord Boon, and I do run Tri-Stat Food. The reason I run Tri-Stat Food is for the max stamina. There's you know, for dodge rolling, things like that. It's just for that purpose. So let's go ahead and take a look at the gear. Now, this build is not, I have not finished this build, to be honest with you guys. I'm still kind of tinkering with it, but it works really well for, like I said, small group play and solo play. It works really well for that. So I'm running 5-piece Akavari Dragon Guard set. This is a set that drops in East March. And it's not too hard to get. It's actually pretty easy to get. As you can see, it does have magic recovery on it. It has healing received, and also has extra health, and it has reduced the cost of ultimate abilities. All five of the pieces of this are reinforced, and they do have max magicka. All my gear has max magic on it. The only places I have health is from my attributes and from my other set. The other 5-piece set I am running is Warrior Poet. Now, I know a lot of people are going to be like, but other people said not to run this. Well, those are other people. But the reason I run this 5-piece set is because the max health, I do run 3 pieces of jewelry with it, and each piece of the jewelry, I'll just show you guys real quick, it has recovery, magic recovery, spell damage, and spell damage. I did the 2 spell damage just to give me a little bit extra damage because of using a lot of ice damage anyways. It does help, but the 5-piece bonus set, or the 5-piece set of this, is really good because one, it gives you max health, then it gives you a thing of spell resistance and a thing of physical resistance. Now all spell and physical resistance gear sets have had this adjustment to them to where they do 2,548 resistances now. The 5th piece bonus of this is fantastic. Regardless of what many people say, this is a fantastic thing for dungeon play. And trial play, probably not so much if you're using Warhorn, because Warhorn gives you the minor toughness, and you know, to me it doesn't matter. because I'd much rather still cast the ability to give my group that stuff, and me not to get the minor toughness because I already have it. It's fine that way. So for me, it's fine. And the extra max health also plays really, really well into this. Now I am just using 2 random staves I picked up. I picked up an ice staff of endurance. As you can see, it does have frost damage on it. And you do get a bonus to that frost damage because you are a warden. And I'll get to that in a second. Also, another frost staff on the back bar. I am running dual frost staffs. I know a lot of people will be like, well, you should be running sword and board to get the armor penetration, da-da-da-da-da. Well, that's, you know, that's here nor there. I run 2 ice staffs because it works really, really well with this build. Now, I am a Nord. So before we get too far into this, I'm going to go ahead and jump in the skills. And I want to explain a few of the passives and why I have them for this build. And it is very important that you do play a Nord for this for this particular build, for it to work this well. So going over here, we're going to take a look at the racial real quick. The Nord racial, one of them, and that is rugged. Reduces damage taken by 6%. This is a damage reduction for every kind of damage. Any kind of damage you take is reduced by 6%, whether it be magical, physical, it doesn't matter. All damage is reduced by 6%. This is why Nords make such awesome tanks, is because you include this with anything that gives you damage reduction, and you get this massive amount of damage reduction. It's a really nice thing about Nords. Also, they get increased max health by 9%, cold resistance, okay, and then of course they get increased max stamina by 6% and health recovery by 20%. A lot of people don't play with health recovery. I do have a build coming soon for this character, another build for this character, that I'm going to show you guys that does rely on health recovery, and there's a big reason why. Again, Revealer is another one. Just the drink thing is really cool. It increases duration of any consumed drink by 15%, or 15 minutes. That's really kind of cool to me. But it's this rugged thing and why it plays so well in it. So let's go ahead and start with the front bar. Also, make sure you unlock all passives on the Warden. It doesn't matter if you use any special ability or you're gaining any benefit from it or not. You do want to do this, especially for this build. Animal Companion, Green Balance, and Winter's Embrace. You want all of the passives. There's a reason why. So let's go ahead and start right here with the first bar. First off, Blockade of Frost. Really, really powerful ability. It's got the, I believe this is the one with the wider range, and everything. And chilled enemies become frozen or immobilized for a second. Yeah, but it does damage over time. It reduces the enemy's movement speed by 60%. This is why this ability is so awesome, is because of this massive movement reduction. On top of that, gripping shards. This is the morph for the second ability on the ice tree. This one I took the health, the one that is based off of health, but it's because of the movement speed thing also. So not only do you reduce their movement speed by 60%, you actually remove by an extra 30, which means 90% movement speed reduction when they move through this. And it only affects trash and small mobs. It doesn't affect mini bosses and things like that, but it does affect some smaller bosses and things, and it's really nice. And it'll immobilize them. So it also immobilizes them so where they can't move. Next up, we are running Arctic Blast. This one is a good heal for you, but the main reason why I took it isn't just for the heal, but also for the area of effect damage that it does. It does 18-13 every 2 seconds for 10 seconds. It's really good, and so you do a lot of AoE damage, as you can see. Next up, we have Lotus Blossom. This is your lifesaver right here. One, it does a heal, so whenever you cast it, it heals you or anyone around you for so much health for a light attack and a really lot of health for a heavy attack. This one you want to do the heavy attacks with. The main you don't really need the crit, but it's really nice to have this right here for the heals. Next up, Blue Betty, of course, for the Magicka return over 25 seconds, and you gain Major Savagery as well, or Major Sorcery as well, increasing your spell damage. It also removes, when activated, it removes one negative effect. So this right here is really, really good for this build. Next up, we do run Northern Storm. This is a great deep damage thing, but it again also reduces enemy movement speed, and it does gives you and your group major protection, reducing incoming damage by another 30%. So you got to remember, that's 36% that I would have. Also, while slotted, your max magicka is increased by 8%. And I want you guys to know something else. I do have another ability on my back bar, which is Ice Fortress. And when I cast Ice Fortress, I get my major resolve and major ward, but it also grants me minor protection, which increases my damage reduction again by 8%. So that's 38, 40 something percent damage reduction I get right now. That doesn't include my Undaunted stuff. So another reason why I run the Akavari Dragon Guard is to reduce the cost of my ultimates, just so you guys can see, by 15%. This ultimate that I'm running does take 170 now instead of 200. So it's nice to have that extra reduced cost. Next up on the back bar, we are running, again, another ice stuff, but we have Elemental Drain. This is how we give, we put Major Breach on the enemies, reducing their magicka resistance by 5,280. Also applies minor magicka steal to all enemies for 21 seconds, causing you and your allies to restore 300 magicka every 1 second when damaging them. So every time I do damage to them every 1 second, I will get 300 magicka back. This is another way to keep your resources maintained with this build, because you will be using a lot of magicka. Next up, Inner Fire. This is going to be your primary taunt. I would suggest going with the Stamina Morph for it, since you are using mostly magicka for the build. Go with the Stamina Morph. It'll be a lot better for you. Next up, we have Crystallized Shield. I haven't got the morph for this yet. I'm still working towards that, but this basically spawns 3 shields that will absorb projectiles, and you can either have it give you, I think it reflects damage back, or it does something else. I'm going to have to find out. But either one of the morphs you can go with. Either one of them. Next up, we have Ice Fortress. Like I said, I do have it on my back bar, and for that minor protection, reducing incoming damage by 8%. Now, I did take Inner Light and put it back here because I did take Northern Storm off of this. And when I took Northern Storm off of here, I lost that 8% max magicka. This does give me max magicka. I don't have it completely maxed out. In fact, I just morphed it right before I started the video. But it does give you major proficiency, which you're not worried about. You're worried about the max magicka from this, because you still need that high magicka. And when you have this maxed out, you'll have 7% more magicka with this, instead of the 8% from this. So you're only going to lose 1% difference. And this brings us to our final ability, which is Ice Storm. Now you want to go, this is the staff ultimate. This ultimate is really good because it does a lot of damage, and when you're solo playing, it's a lot better to use this. It does cost 213 ultimate, so it does take a while to build up to, but if you're playing solo through like public dungeons, delves, things like that, out farming gear, whatever you need, this is a really nice one to have for damage over time and stuff like that. If you don't want to run this particular setup, you can drop both of these, put Northern Storm back on here, move this over, and I would suggest unlocking the Frozen Gate and then taking the morph that teleports your allies to you. That way, if there's a problem, you can just throw it out there, warp them all to you, buff them up with Northern Storm or whatever, and keep them going. So, really effective build here. And I know a lot of people are like, but Ice Staff is so slow, it doesn't work. We'll get to that in a second. I want to show you guys something else before we get too far. I want to show you guys the champion points. And then I'll show you the build in action and let you guys decide for yourselves. So let's go ahead and take a look at champion points. We're going to start with the Steed, of course, as always. We have 23 in Ironclad. This reduces the damage taken from direct damage attacks by 10%. It's nice. It's not like I don't need it. I get so much damage reduction, it's not even funny. Again, 20 in the spell shield. This is to increase my spell resistance by 1900. This does stack with the other spell resistance I got from my armor, which is awesome. That's how I get that 30% cap. Again, why do I keep saying again? I just stop saying again. Next up, Hardy and Elemental Defender. Both of them have 43 points in them, giving me both 10% in reduced damage from Flame Frost, Shock, and Magic, and then Poison, Physical, and Disease. Thick Skin, 23 points, reduced damage taken from area of effect, damage over time effect. Damage over time by 10%. So you can, these do stack with the Hardy and Elemental Defender. Ironclad in this one both do, along with Expert Defender, which, as you can see, also reduces the damage I take from light and heavy attacks by 10%. I do have 20 points in heavy armor focus, giving me an extra 1900 physical resistance, and then I have 8 points into here, increasing my healing received by 2.35%. I don't get a lot of healing received, I'm not going to lie, but I give up the healing received for the extra resistances and damage mitigation, so that way I don't need as much healing. It works out really well. Onto the green tree, we have 23 in Warlord. Reduces the cost of break free by 10%. You will be breaking free. Not a lot, because you do still block attacks and stuff like that, but just not by a whole lot. 16 in the bashing focus. You do bash to interrupt enemies and things like that. So having that reduced cost is really, really nice. Now, you don't get the extra bonus like you do with Sword and Board, so this does help. 43 in the Mooncalf, 43 in the Arcanist, and 43 in the Tenaxi. Each one of these two here give you 10% stamina recovery, 10% magic recovery. This gives you 10% back on your magic or stamina from a fully charged heavy attack, whatever, based on whatever weapon you're using. So instead of just getting 30%, or sorry, in this case 55% from wearing heavy armor back, you also get another 10%, making it 65% of your total magic a return back to you. So it's pretty nice to have. Over here we have 23 in the Shadow Ward. This one reduces the block cost of blocking by 10%. Since I am using a staff, an ice staff, I do get 20% cost reduction in blocking, so I have a 30% reduced cost. It doesn't cost me that much to block, but since I'm not blocking every attack, I'm only blocking certain attacks, then, you know, I get a reduced cost, which is nice. I do have 5 in the Pfeil. I didn't know where else to put the 5 points, so I put it here because in case I do start running Sword and Board, I can use the shield thing on there to get the Major Defile, which reduces the enemy healing. This would be a really great one for that, so just letting you know. Next up onto the blue tree, we have 38 in the Blast. This does increase our healing done by 9.27%. I do have 1 point I can throw into here, so we'll just go ahead and do that. I do want to get this up to 43 to get 10% out of it, but I'm just gonna have to wait. Next up, I have 23 into Elfborn. This increases the critical damage I do and the critical healing I do by 10%. Elemental Expert increases your Flame Frost, Shock, and Magic damage by 10%. So I get 5% for being a Warden. I get 10% for this. I have 15% frost damage, which is really nice. Moving on to this tree, we have 35 in a Staff Expert. This gives us 20% damage from our light and heavy attacks. It increases our light and heavy attack damage by 20%. And then we have 56 in the here, giving me 20% direct damage. So as you can see, I use a lot of AoE damage, and I have nothing into Thaumaturge. I was going to put what I put into Blessed into Thaumaturge, but I decided that it'd be best to leave it in Blessed and then keep this like that and keep these like these. It really works out better in the long run like this because I get that extra damage and everything. I also get Retaliation, Reposit, and Butcher. So Reposit, if you don't know, this one is whenever you block an attack, you have a 15% chance to deal extra damage back to the enemy. And it can occur once every 5 seconds. So most of the time, most enemies, when they do like a special attack or something that you want to block, it's going to happen every 5 seconds. So you're going to be blocking a lot of those things. So just try to keep that in mind when you're tanking in a dungeon. And that is pretty much it. In the last tree, I have nothing. So let's go ahead and see what this build is like in action. We're going to go out here and take on, well, you know what? I usually take on a lot of the bigger guys. This time we're going to take on a couple smaller groups of enemies, and we're going to grab a lot of them. Because this build is all about grabbing the attention of a lot of stuff, if you can. So right now I have, I don't know, I have quite a few of these little buggers on me. We're going to go ahead and drop our abilities. And this, as you can see, is a way that you... I'm not barely taking any damage. I'm just going to burn these guys down now. Goodbye. You don't do a lot of damage, but the build's not about doing damage unless you're solo playing. And when you're solo playing, that's what it's all about. But when you're tanking, it's a different story. Your whole job is to make sure that this is always on your enemy to help out your allies by keeping that damage. Why isn't this working? So try to keep this on them at all times. And keep these up as much as possible. Because this way you can keep any enemies that might spawn or whatever, you can keep them slow. Oh, that's right, they're immune to this for some reason. See, watch. Oh, it's not saying it now. Usually it'll say target is immune, that kind of thing. It's showing the elemental expert on them. That they're taking the extra damage and stuff. It's just not showing that major breach on them like it does with that. So I usually try to keep that up all the time on the enemy, and then usually just focus heavy attacks. If it's a single target like a boss or something, I will pretty much stay on this bar and just stick between doing this and this and blocking. Tanking is a little bit different beast than DPS. It's not about trying to keep as many things up or applied. It's about control and using the abilities when it's needed. Like if you know your damage is a lot of damage is coming in, just keep this up. I mean, that's all you have to do. Keep that one ability up. You don't have to worry about blocking a lot of stuff because you're mitigating so much damage this way with all the damage reduction that you get for this build. You don't really need anything else. Like I can literally just go over here and cast this one ability and let this giant beat on me, and he's not going to be doing a lot of damage. And if I need to heal, I can heal myself and usually keep the heals coming in pretty good. And if I have this up and this up and this going, I can just sit here and pretty much just heavy attack and keep myself healed through a fight because I heal for so much with my heavy attacks. It's pretty much just not even funny. So really fun build though. If you wanna play something different than the normal, you know, sword and board tank, this is a really fun build to play. I do have a sword and board tank coming out for this as well. It is also an ice tank that runs a sword and board. Completely different gear setup and everything because of the way it works. We don't want to run the same thing. You kind of want to mix it up. So I do have another build that is going to be coming out probably sometime next week because I got to put all the gear together, and I'm really enjoying playing this, and I need to work on skills for this, leveling some skills and things like that. But for now, this is the build that I'm using, and it, like I said, it works really well. And that's it. I mean, that's the build. So that's it for the build, guys. If you guys enjoyed this video, hit that like button. It'd be greatly appreciated. If you guys want to see more videos by me, you can hit the subscribe button. I try to release videos on a weekly basis. I've been trying to release a lot more lately because Morrowind just dropped. I do have a lot more videos to come. I still have a lot of, I'm going to be doing videos on the public dungeons, the new public dungeons, the new delves, the new world bosses, and also I have a new gold farming guide coming out next week. I just have to get some stuff finalized with that, and once I do, it's going to be pretty cool. So, but that's it for now, guys. Thanks for watching. Until next time, have a wonderful day. and this guy. We'll see you all later. Bye.